Today's video is all about Aster, decentralized perpetual contracts, trade crypto, stocks, cross-chain using hidden orders. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals such as the team, the tokenomics, the utility, and the overall value proposition, trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. And of course, the question is Aster the opportunity? Guys, we're going to be doing a deep dive today, looking into some of the details. We're looking at the website, the documentation that is provided, the socials, and many aspects here, any information that the team has gathered here for us to become fundamentally bullish. The overall opportunity here is that the retail market could be speculating very soon into great assets. And if that's the case, the retail perspective needs to be considered. So as this deep dive is going to get into a lot of the depth regarding the crypto project itself, we are not going to be focusing on too much of the tech because, of course, we don't want to be computer scientists. We don't want to get into, heavy mathematics. We would just want the basic or the base knowledge that is required from a retail perspective to get those fundamentals and obviously to be bullish about them. So let's begin. Let's see what's going on with the website. Let's see what they got offering for us. We have a decentralized perpetual contract. So this narrative, the perp dex narrative, is one of the hotter narratives this cycle. Guys, we saw what Hyperliquid did. Now we're seeing what Aster did. And there's other competitors within the space also that are trying to come up and gain their fair share of the total of the market cap. But the reality is that, there has to be an edge. There has to be a point of differentiation. And that's what we're going to try to focus on here on Aster and all the little details in between. All right, so let's begin. Let's scroll through this website to see what we got here. You can launch the app and download the app. So they have a functioning product already ready to go. So obviously, to really know what a project is and what it does and how its value, use it, guys. Use it. Experiment with it. Let's keep on going down here. We see total trading volume almost $3 trillion, users 5.3 million users, open interests approximately $3 billion, TVL total value locked 1.26 billion, and symbols, which I'm assuming that they're referring to as trading pairs, 181 different trading pairs, guys. That is very, very typical. And we have to understand the context behind Aster, right? Aster is technically a merger and a rebrand. And not only that, it is backed by Binance. And we'll talk about all these little details further as we go along, guys. Just don't forget, I also have the summary towards the end of the video with the infographic that I'm also going to make available later on when the video gets released. So just stay tuned for that one. But yeah, at the end of the day, guys, we have to understand that the framework that they have is not a new framework in the sense that we have players that are involved here that have a history and that know exactly how to run an exchange, whether it be a centralized or decentralized exchange, given that Binance is one of the largest, Bitcoin or crypto exchanges out there. So just to keep that in mind. Invisible orders, visible advantage. So what we have to understand is that a lot of people, especially with this concept of spoofing and being able to see people's orders, is something that we're frowning upon, because that means that orders can be hunted. That means that different positions that people are attempting to get into can be used as data, as information to cause manipulation. Right, so this is an important thing. So hidden orders let you place limit orders that say fully hidden from the public order book. Size and direction are not shown. So it gives you that anonymous feel as far as what your next play is going to be, so that the market in general, that people that are participating don't know what your next move is. In a way, guys, this is something that is necessary. Right now, the overall transactions themselves are transparent. They are contracted, on chain, but the orders, the intent to fill an order is not public, which means that they don't use a typical order book, right? They use a liquidity pool. So we'll talk about that in a little bit of detail as we go along and start looking into some of the fundamentals. But that is their key point of differentiation against the majority of the current competitors within the perpdex narrative. Okay, so that's a good one. So keep that in mind. As we keep on going down, we'll see what we got. Stocks meet crypto on chain, not Wall Street. Of course, we see a lot of this happening, the tokenized asset narrative, and they're definitely supporting that. You can see Apple, Meta, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and the list goes on. As time goes on, we're going to see a lot more of these different traditional stocks being leveraged here on Aster or any other decentralized exchanges. Trade US stocks with up to 100x leverage, fully settled in crypto, no bridging required. Okay, so that's basically like a wrapped asset right there from the traditional markets. Let's keep on going down. Why Aster? Cross-chain trading, no bridge or no switching, just pick a chain and place a trade. Another good value proposition, of course. We see in a lot of the dexes offer this cross-chain trading capability, which is great. But at least they're keeping up with the trends and in the efforts that a lot of the new perp dex tech is coming out with. So this is interesting because you can get onto many exchanges, many chains, and trade their tokens that they have available. Unmatched liquidity, access deep liquidity pooled across markets to support large, confident trades. Sure. And then advanced tools, they have to do that, keeping up with the rest of the space and competing also, not only with the dexes out there, but with the centralized exchanges. This is also important because right now what they're trying to do, what dexes are trying to do is pull from that customer base. And if you note what I said earlier, Aster is pretty much a Binance project at this point. So this is a very, very important thing given that Aster is Binance's competitor, so to speak. Okay, so use powerful tools like hidden orders built to control speed and competitive edge. Of course, that's the case. Confidence in every trade, whether you're new or pro. Enjoy streamlined experience built for clarity and control. Great stuff. Okay, so a little bit of that happening there. Order partners, their partners. You got Kernel, Venus, a few little partners, List, DAO, Pancake Swap. Okay, these are good relationships. Pancake Swap is one of the OG or the OG Binance Smart Chain decks out there, so that's interesting. And then we got the Binance Labs renamed to YZI Labs. Now it's that we got Pendle, another DeFi protocol that's handling a different aspect of the traditional or allowing those instruments, those financial instruments, into the DeFi space, Venus, and so on. So pretty good stuff there from a relationship perspective, guys. There's no doubt in my mind, given that Binance is all involved in this, that they're going to be able to have great relationships as need be. Okay, let's be real about that, okay, guys? So the doors are wide open for pretty much any relationship, any partnership or arrangement that they are seeking because of that overarching, Binance, relationship that they got going on there. Trade smarter, earn more, try Aster. And again, once again, launch the app, download the app, check it out. They got some social links below right here. You got the Telegram, the typical Telegram, the Discord, we got X, and we got I forget where Dune, which is the website where you get a lot of the data, on-chain data regarding what's happening with Aster. So pretty good stuff overall. Let's see what else we got here. We got perpetuals. We got 101x leverage spot portfolio. So your overall portfolio referral and rewards. You can see in the rocket launch, these are interesting tabs. Let's see what we got here. I'll talk about. So right now we have NBU, NB. We got AT. This one's being promoted quite a bit. Now, this is the launch pad, by the way, guys. So trade early stage crypto projects and earn rewards. Right now, what they got ongoing is the AT token right here, as you can see. And then they also have the NBU USD perp and NB USDT right here. So this is a launch pad if you want to get early access to trading or projects that are in the early stages of crypto. This is what they got for you. And they got some other stuff, grid trading. You can see all the little details here. They have a stable coin, which we'll talk about in a second. Actually, there's not that much to talk about, guys. They have a stable coin, and of course, stable coins add that layer of not only stability, of course, but that trading capability, that safety measure, all that kind of stuff, especially with regards to trading and such. You need a stable coin in order to get into, a safe spot while you're trading. So you got to take a trader's perspective here for its value propositions and its utilities, right? So leaderboard for trading leaderboard and so on. Pretty good details there. A point system, so you can earn points for Aster airdrop. They do have a really interesting amount of airdrop that that could lead to some concerns, but if you at face value, the tokenomics are decent at face value, and there's still it is what it is, guys, and we'll talk about this as I go through the tokenomics and such. So bear with me. Trade and earn, rewards hub, and so on. Let's see what they got. The earning referrals, obviously, if you're probably going to be able to refer your friends and so on for a bit of a reward. Shows you your portfolio, your spot portfolio, leverage, perpetuals, and this 1,000. This is how it looks, guys. It looks pretty decent, guys, like a typical exchange. You can see Bitcoin's ranging. It's been ranging forever, guys. So yeah, it's pretty good. And this 1001x leverage for absolute degeneracy. You can see that this is here. It's a little bit of a different case, allowing high leverage based on liquidity provided and getting a liquid token at the same time. It's a little bit of a feature that they got going on here that, degen leverage. You can see degen. You qualify for that degen badge if you're into this 1001x leverage, guys. Be careful with the leverage out there. All right, so we got a bit of an idea, taste of what Aster is from a actual product perspective by looking at what they got going on here. Just one more time, this is what most people would probably be looking at right now is their perpetual DEX. You can see cross 25x and so on. You got stop limits, market order, limit orders. You got all kinds of TPs and very typical layout like we've been seeing on a lot of the major exchanges. So it is what it is. Okay, so that's that. Let's take a look at some of the documentation because this is what we're mostly here for. Okay, so now that we understand the product a bit, it's a DEX offering a few little features of point of differentiation. How to log in, not really interested right now. So what is Aster? Is a next generation decentralized perpetual exchange built for everyone. So what they did was they found a need, and of course a lot of us that have been in this space multi-cycle do realize the choke point that centralization, especially with regards to exchanges, does bring to the space, particularly for traders. So they've realized that traders are going to want to still retain full custody of their assets while trading. And that's a very important solution to a problem because we've seen in the past that, not your keys, not your crypto. We'll leave it at that. Following the fact that they merge with Aster, which is a different project. They merged with APX Finance in late 2024. So not only is this a merger, but it's a rebrand as well. And this is something that we have to understand. This is not a completely new idea. They're revolutionizing the way people trade perpetual contracts and utilize assets in the decentralized world. So why Aster? Again, feel free to check this all out, guys. I'm not going to make this an infomercial. It is what it is. We got the idea. Perps are a multi-billion-dollar market, 100%. We get that there's a market for this type of solution, and there's people like myself, traders that trade all the time, that are looking for something like this. So delving into Aster, there's a couple of different products, let's say within their ecosystem. So because we're talking about Aster as a DEX and their token, we have to think about what is the utility of the token, and the utility of the token is derived by their ecosystem. So perpetual mode, pro perpetuals, so you can trade perps. We talked about that, providing deep liquidity and low trading fees, advanced trading tools. We talked about that already. The 1001x leverage perpetuals trading using on-chain liquidity, one-click MEV resistant perpetual contracts trading. So it's a little bit different because you're going to have to provide liquidity to a pool, but at the same time, the 1001x is something that a lot of people might find interesting. Then you have spot mode, basically spot trading using order book interface with deep liquidity, extremely low trading fees, and advanced trading tools. Now, this is a hybrid where there is an order book, but at the same time, there is not an order book. And this is what's important because it's the order book that provides that transparency as to which orders are being placed when trading. But the problem is that when that is publicly available to the degree of which traditional dexes offer, you can actually hunt people's positions specifically based on who they are, which makes things a little bit unfair from a trading perspective because then you can gamify it a lot more. And that's where, Aster decided, hold on, we're going to make that order book not available when we're talking about perpetuals, but potentially available for here on spot. Well, at the end of the day, guys, we're going to have to look into a little bit more how they organize this whole thing, but it is a hybrid model where the order book is not available, and because they use a liquidity pool, it's not the same mechanics. Okay, so we continue to support Aether's popular yield product under Aster Earn. So you can see that you'll notice that there's still the transition from Aether's over to Aster, including the BNB liquid staking derivatives ASBNB and yield bearing stablecoin USDF. So USDF is the stablecoin here for Aster. Aster's roadmap includes zero knowledge proofs and proof build. They want to come up with their own blockchain, the layer one, because that's something that has been it is being talked about here on the white papers and some of the documentation. Unfortunately, there's no clarity as to what and when and how and so on. Like, there's no details there, just bold statements, which we appreciate the bold statements, but sometimes you need a little bit of a backup here, and we'll talk about a lot of this as we go on forward. And internet-based system that simplifies trading by automating execution across chains and liquidity sources. Okay, all good. Now let's keep on going down. How to log in, how to retrieve your wrong deposit, our smart contracts. It is what it is. Okay, products. So again, there's different ecosystem products, and that's what I want to focus on here a little bit, because we have the perpetuals, guys. I'm not gonna bore you with going through all these details. You can see there's the DEX, the regular traditional perpetuals DEX, and there you can see deposit guide, fees, margin, single asset mode, multi-asset mode, lots of little things, how they handle delistings, stock contracts, pre-launch contracts, hedging mode, grid trading, guys, you name it, they got it. Okay, so this is the thing. But if they want to remain competitive, they're going to have to offer us traders all the little features and all the little capabilities that all the competitors have. So it is what it is, guys. Scroll through it. Hopefully, you can relate to some of these features, and if it's so, great, right? We know that the DEX narrative is going in the right direction. Now we got here the simple, apparently simple 1001x leverage. So, here it is. You're talking about leverage. And what's most important is you increase your leverage, of course, and you can see leverage below 500x can be margin open position. Basically, you're providing liquidity to a pool, and you have a liquid staking capability, and you can basically manually set your leverage before opening a position, ranging from 1 to up to 1001x leverage depending on the specific market. Increased leverage boosts your position size, we know this, but increase your risk. Decreasing obviously moves liquidation further away from your entry, lower risk. This is something that I talk about every single day with you guys on the live streams, and it's good to see that they're taking that approach as well. And they're trying to give you a recipe for you to understand exactly how that works. Okay, so a little bit of detail here, leverage example and how leverage works here. So good stuff. Prices in oracles, you will note that they have the typical. Okay, the typical. Let me work backwards here. They had the proprietary Binance Oracle. Guys, it is what it is. Binance is a big player nowadays, so they have the data. But you can also, they support, or for trading pairs not supported by Pyth Oracle, Binance Oracle used as backup. So the primary source of data here is the Pyth Oracle. Price feeds serves as an anchor. Now, this video is not about Pyth, but I'm just going to bring out a simple concept here. Pyth is everywhere. It's a very common oracle nowadays, particularly with DeFi, specifically with trading, because of the speed that they offer. So keep that in mind. So that's a good thing. How prices are fetched and verified, guys. I'm not going to get into this detail here, but it is what it is. They have their oracles, they have Pyth as the main source and Binance as the backup. and you can see deviates more than 1%. Chainlink's price, the circuit breaker is triggered, causing the transactions to fail. So if Pyth Oracle's price deviates, we get the Chainlink, and then you got the Binance, and you got the main heavyweight oracles here in this space. Good, Steve. Basically degen mode. Yeah, you got crazy leverage, as I mentioned, 1001x leverage, dynamic cost fees. You got the degen mode features, so these are the key features that they got. Pretty cool. Okay, and then you got dumb mode. So you can see that even the chart starts to become in a linear fashion, a line chart and so on. So perp and dumb modes ensure that your dumb mode basically it simplifies things for people. It is what it is, guys. So if this interests you, I would dig a little deeper into this, play around with it, see what if it's for you. Manage your positions, order types, limit orders, sell orders, take profit, interact with contract directly, which is possible. But again, like offers streamlined, fully on-chain perpetual DEX trading experience with up to 1001x leverage. This is the thing here, and it supports select pairs on both BNB chain and Arbitrum network. The leverage aspect of things nowadays is causing people to really doubt whether leverage should be taken on trades, but you have to understand it's a tool. And if you learn how to use the tool and understand what leverage really is, you will use it accordingly. So it's very important that you understand. I wouldn't be getting into anything crazy here with crazy leverage, so keep that in mind, all right, guys? And then they also have their typical spot. This is where I guess a lot of us are building positions for longer term holds and so on. They got deposit withdrawal guides and different things, spot fee structures, order types, and so on. VIP programs and different tiers depending on how you're staking and holding Aster, because you can hold Aster via staking and also hold Aster to provide collateral. And this is where you earn some rewards here on Aster. So that's a very important thing as well, because there's a lending aspect here also. Aster Earn, again, high yield strategy, secure custody, staking, and airdrop rewards. Lots of different rewarding structures based on obviously the DeFi of things. Let's call it that one. So yield focused products within Aster platform, giving users access to optimized DeFi and centralized DeFi strategies with minimal friction. Rewards update in real time and distributed automatically. So what I like to see here is that they're bringing a lot of the features that we've become accustomed to across DeFi right into a decentralized protocol right here, and so on. So it is what it is, and you can get rewards in various different tokens. Cake is one of them, BNB, USDF, and so on. So pretty good. USDF as a stable coin. So there is USDF is a fully collateralized yield-bearing stablecoin, which is part of their ecosystem. The fact that they're going to have a stablecoin that is fully collateralized is great, obviously, and as an exchange, um, rewarding individuals that are using the USDF is obviously a utility. And instead of using other stable coins, they're going to use their native stable coin. So it is a fully centralized yield-bearing stable coin issued by Aster. It is convertible 1-to-1 with USDT and designed to generate passive returns. So you use the USDF instead of its competitors, and you get rewarded for doing so. The underlying USDT is used to create delta neutral strategies, approaches them to earn yield with minimizing exposure price swings. So it is what it is, guys. It's a typical thing. Just getting the perks of it being issued by Aster gives you some of those rewards or access to some of those rewards. Okay, so let's move on from there. We don't want to get into too much detail here. How it maintains its peg and so on and so forth. Feel free to read this. There's a lot of good stuff here. Obviously, if it's fully collateralized with stablecoin USDT, it's going to be correlated, obviously, with the USDT price, assuming that USDT also remains pegged. This is also very important. Aster chain. So this is something that coming soon. I would have loved to see a proper roadmap here, because this is where it's a big step, because the Aster's competitor is an L1 that has a fully custom L1 chain meant for their products, whereas Aster right now is using the Binance chain, which is obviously a good chain. It is what it is, guys. I'm not here to critique that, but what I'm here to say is that it's not a custom chain for DeFi or for Aster in itself. Now, is it necessary? Maybe, maybe not. That's not, again, I'm not going there. What I'm going to say is that at least give us an idea of a framework of what Aster Chain is going to be and why it's necessary. Maybe instead of just writing coming soon, and maybe a bit of an idea of when soon is. Is it in 10 years? Is it in 6 months? What is the idea here generally? Broad ideas sometimes go very, very far, because when you're speculating into an asset, you kind of want to know where they're putting their efforts, whether it be, midterm, long term, even short term, it doesn't matter. At least you kind of know, okay, I'm expecting this within the year. I'm expecting XYZ to happen within so many years. And a lot of the times teams don't want to commit to these um, you know, events or dates and schedules. But the truth is, it brings speculators closer to a realization. And at the end of the day, when you're speculating, you want as much as reality or realization as possible. So right now, that's not a good thing. I think this is a very bullish thing to see Aster Chain potentially get into its own thing. But as of now, I can't offer any details, obviously. Aster app, they have an app, trade, earn, rocket launch, maybe another this is another aspect of their ecosystem. It's a gateway to early stage crypto projects and trading rewards, which I already showed you on the Aster application. So it's almost like a launch pad where you can get in nice and early. So Rocket Launch aims to transform token launches from one market events into continuous journey that includes early stages user exposure, trading activation with bootstrap liquidity that translates into long-term sustainable growth, and obviously trading, trading, trading. So this is interesting. And the current campaign that they're really pushing right now is AT, a trusted oracle from multi-chain era. That's interesting. Do we need another oracle? We saw Pith all over the place. Now they're supporting this. I'm not sure how this is gonna affect things. If this is something that Aster might use, if it's an oracle, is it something that Aster might employ in the future? Because oracles have their utility. Is it a particular oracle that is best for DeFi? I'm not even sure. Or is it an oracle that might be better for another narrative of some sort, right? Providing that data feed. So pretty good stuff. So we kind of got through its product listing. You can see the apps. We talked about a lot of these things already on the main website. So pretty good. We're getting a feel of this right now. You can see that they have different stages, which one might argue, but Mike, that's like a roadmap. I get it, but the problem is that a lot of this is done. Yeah, this is all done. Like, reality, I think they're in phase three. And if you read phase three, there's no mention of a couple of things that are kind of, lingering, which is, governance, decentralization of the organization itself. Because I always say there are many ways to decentralize. We can use blockchain technology, but have a centralized organization. How centralized is that? You can have a centralized organization and a centralized blockchain or tech stack, but then again, your liquidity's all concentrated, so it's very centralized from that perspective. You might have only a few nodes, and then it's very centralized. So there's different ways to judge or to wrap a big picture concept here with regards to centralization and decentralization. But I'll tell you this, without much details with regarding their organization, it becomes very difficult to wrap your mind around decentralization here. So we'll talk about this a little bit more. And as I was saying about stage three, it seems to me that this is where they're in right now. But no mention of anything really, really concrete. That's something that I'm really looking forward to, like a referral bonuses and team boosts. Like, really, yeah, those are good marketing strategies and tactics. But what about the L1, and what about the DAO and the governance? If it is going to be a DAO, at least, Aster was meant to be also a governance token. And we'll talk about this, guys. Let's talk about Aster as a token. So more into what we're here for. So up until now, the truth is that we didn't need a token, pretty much. There's some aspects that we talked about that are like, okay, we need Aster for rewards and this and that. I get it. But up until now, like, what is Aster? Not as a DEX, but as a token, as a crypto project. And this is where things become economical, right? We talk from an economic perspective. So overview wise, the ticker is Aster. There is a good amount of max supply. It's not infinite, which is good. So you got about $8 billion, 8 billion units. Token is a Binance Smart Chain token, BEP20, and this is the address. Nice and transparent. It is what it is. You can see it's backed by YZI Labs. Aster is building the future, flexible, community first, and I would agree community first from one aspect. And this is the problem, guys, is because when you're doing deep dives, it's not good enough just to take things from face value, because from a marketing perspective and even from a tokenomics perspective, yes, it does seem very, very, very community driven, which for me is amazing, because ecosystem growth also means supporting the dev community, right? That's super important in order to provide more utility for the token. But for me, and cross-chain capabilities, hiding orders, grid trading, all these things are great, good stuff. But the problem is that from a tokenomics perspective, you're still competing with, you know, first of all, you're competing with Aster unlocks and Aster liquidity, being seeing more tokens entering in circulation over time. So there's the airdrop, this September 17th, 2025. Claim closes on October 17th, 2025. Aster will be shared soon. So they got this airdrop going which was about 8.8% of the total supply. This was good. This was happened at TGE. When the token generation happened, this is where this event occurred. So okay, distribution method. Tokens were directly basically credited to our Aster spot account after successful claim, no gas fees or anything like that, which was this must have happened very successfully. I didn't hear anything negative about this airdrop. Maybe sometimes people don't get their airdrops, and I get it. Maybe don't qualify or something like that. Some location restrictions, but I didn't see anything major that this didn't work out for people. Upon success, Aster TGE September 17th, user will be able to trade Aster spot directly. So they became liquid all of a sudden. You can go and trade it right away. Who's eligible? Again, this is very important. Earn RH and AU points from Aster Spectra. So there's a pointing system. Points, you earn points by doing this and doing that, contributing to Aster's success since the beginning. You get rewards. Okay, so it is what it is. These loyalty points and rewards, sometimes they work, sometimes, for the most part, I think everybody's successful in claiming with their rewards and the things. Let me know in the chat, guys, how that went for you if you did participate. But I'm not one to do these types of things anyways, but it is what it is. Aster Spectra Stage 01 participants need to have a minimum point allocation in order to be eligible. So it is what it is. And then you got instructions on how to, claim your airdrop. Now let's talk about tokenomics. Okay, so things get a little bit interesting here, because okay, so we clearly have seen that even with their airdrop, they're community driven. Even with their language, they're community driven. And even with their distribution, you can see that they are community driven. Okay, so we have 53.5% incentives for traders, community builders, and key ecosystem stakeholders. So we're gonna put that right away into a category called early stakeholders, people that are in early. However, these airdrops don't have to be early, right? They can be airdropped at any time, even later on this year. Maybe they can hold some for the next couple of years, right? The question is how are these airdrops gonna actually be implemented? This is the biggest deal, because who pushes the button? How do we get these campaigns of airdrops going? Who calls the shots? You get what I mean? And it's 53.5% of the circulating supply is going to be allocated to a category of which we are questioning how is this going to be implemented. Okay, so just understand that there are reward structures by point systems and things like that. But again, key ecosystem stakeholders are going to get airdrops. Community builders, who chooses these community builders? Is it completely a scenario where it's an open blockchain that anybody could come in and build, and they're going to reward them? How's that going to work? Who makes the shots? Okay, I'm just going to leave that there because I feel like I'm rambling on. Ecosystem and community, another great category, because you can see that there's that overlap. Ecosystem stakeholders, ecosystem and community. Community builders and community. You can see that right into here. Like these are it's almost like a way that they're very similar. because essentially what we're saying is that ecosystem and community are going to get some tokens, right? So regardless if you call them an airdrop or not. So migration pool for APX holder. You remember what I said, that this was a migration, you know, a rebrand. Well, guys, the rebrand and the migration from the previous identity of Aster now is going to have to give those individuals an opportunity to get their fair claim of Aster. So this is where we're going. We're going migration pool for APX holders are going to be able to claim Aster tokens, ecosystem grants, marketing initiatives, and initial liquidity on exchanges. That is fine, especially the last one, initial liquidity on exchanges. This is something that we have to understand that needs to happen, right, in order to get listed on exchanges. However, the rest of it, marketing initiatives, ecosystem grants, how do we get those going? Who calls the shots? Who interviews who? Or how do we get these ecosystem grants approved, and who approves them? And you can see that there's a very, a very similar vibe between both categories. Treasury, reserved for future strategic incentives, operation services, and governance flexibility. Okay. The good news here is that we're only talking about 7%. So even if there's ambiguity, it is what it is. It's fine. However, even still, if you start looking at the ambiguity above and start integrating this ambiguity, it starts to look like a fair amount, because you're looking at 53 plus 7, you're looking at 60 right there, plus 30. Guys, we're talking about 90% of allocation that is potentially controlled by a centralized identity, right? This is where I'm starting to get a little bit like, okay, I understand that you want to give all these tokens to a community, but who defines that? Who defines which members of what community get these tokens? Now we talk about the team. Allocation to Aster core contributors and advisors with cliff vesting. Okay, so if only 5%, guys. So that's very, very generous. You can, and you're right, based on this fact at face value, you can say the team is not savage. They're not, that hungry as far as, money hungry. They're really realizing that their evaluation of the 5% is going to be worth a lot in the future, and because of that, they only want 5% because they know that ultimately 5% will make their time worth it. Guys, that's a sign of strength, no doubt. However, that also bothers me, because who is the team? Right, really, who is the team? Who's involved with the team? Who calls the shots of this team? And this is where does the treasury, who calls the shots for the treasury and the airdrops and the ecosystem, grease that they have readily available to grease the ecosystem? So this is where things start to kind of like come together. And then liquidity and listings reserved for exchange listing to facilitate liquid bootstrapping. But we already had this already in this category. So we're like double dipping, or something's happening here with more ambiguity, right? So we got another only 4.5%, which is fine. But then what happens to the additional liquidity here on exchanges? Now, are they saying, okay, maybe if we need some extra, we got a little bit of a reserve for extra stuff? Okay, let's put it that way, 4.5%. So we could say that we're going to give them 10% of flexibility for the team to do what they got to do to get paid. Obviously, guys, they're working, they need to get paid. And this liquidity listing, okay, fine. Again, but the majority of it, now we start to say it sounds very good from a community perspective. But guys, I don't know who's calling the shots on these tokens. This is the biggest problem. Is that, and this is the biggest criticism at the moment for Aster, and a bit of the FUD that is lingering out, is that number one, the team is not doxed, and number two, that that the tokenomics don't include governance, right? There's no governance, even though they were promised governance. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit more. So more details here with regarding the vesting schedule. You can see that the airdrop is all remaining Aster tokens unlocked in this category will be gradually released over the next 80 months. Okay, they get released, they get issued into circulation. How? Who? When? Is it a governance? Is there a voting system? Is there somebody going to do a proposal for those tokens where they get allocated to a particular place? Or I don't know. Aster Gems is a great way to decentralize or deauthorize the organization and allow the community to earn points for particular tasks and so on. It's easy to track and be transparent about. But the rest of it kind of like leads me thinking about, well, how is that going to be implemented, right? And the same with here, we have the APX for Aster during the designated swap period. The swap period eventually is, going to end, so they got to get going. That's fine. And then we know that APX in DAO will be able to exchange for APX for Aster. So the APX was a DAO, and now they're trying to get it over to Aster because of course that merger. It is what it is, and the treasury, the governance approved mechanisms, guys. There is no governance at the current moment as far as its utility goes. And that's what a lot of people are worried about, is because there's a lot of tokens talking about for that is meant to be distributed, but how are they going to be distributed? And I know it's only a little bit here on Treasury, right? It is what it is. The team, this is fine, guys. 40-month linear distribution. Cliff period is 1 year. They got to eat. It's the reality. And the over insights right here. Feel free to go check it out. I think the biggest issue right now is the realization that yes, the tokenomics are clean and clear, but the tokenomics themselves, as far as issuance, lack clarity, and that's one layer deeper than face value of this chart right here. Okay, so at face value of this chart, it looks great, but once you start asking the critical questions, that's when things are like a little bit funky. APX token exchange. This is again something that some people are interested in here because again of the migration and all of that. APX to Aster exchange information. If you're one of those holders, feel free to read, and you can see that there's dates that need to be abided by, because eventually this whole window of opportunity is going to be done, and you definitely want to get your rewards or your transfer over. I'm not going to spend too much time there. And to be honest, this whole factor, this whole concept of migration, rebranding, and all this, it usually doesn't work out very well. It usually doesn't end well for. I've never really seen too many successful projects actually do this, even within one cycle, to succeed that well. It could be different. Aster could actually rebrand and do everything perfectly, but I've never really seen that follow through in a positive way. Guys, Binance has the power to do quite a bit, so let's think about it like that also. Claim Binance Wallet exclusive awards. So another thing is, again, they're trying to incentivize the Binance Wallet. I wouldn't be surprised. Now there is speculation, because there was an announcement that we would see Aster on Trust Wallet, which is the wallet that is owned by Binance. So we've seen this, let's call it this strategy already being implemented with MetaMask and Hyperliquid. So this concept of seeing Aster on Trust Wallet is something that we should all be aware of. It is bullish. It is something that's good for Aster and even Trust Wallet. But we got to understand that Trust Wallet is nowhere as strong or let's say utilized as MetaMask. So it is what it is. Okay, guys. So go check that out. I'm surprised they don't have that here, but they're calling it the claim the Binance Wallet. Unless I thought Binance Wallet was deprecated. Regardless, guys, it is what it is. Brand is the media kit, official links, audit reports. They got some audits and reports you can download. Go check those out. And some more other details regarding privacy and terms and conditions. So overall, guys, the documentation was pretty good, but there are some issues. And the issues is a lot of it has to do with the organization and a little bit behind tokenomics. So let's leave that aside for a second. And we'll take a look at their overall vesting schedule. So far, you can see vested TGE. We talked about that. So at TGE, these were the tokens that were 8.8 million, I think there were. But regardless, okay, they're right here. And you can see 8.8%, sorry. And then initial airdrop, a bunch of airdrops happening here. And then we have the ecosystem that we've talked about in community portion that is slowly being unlocked. About over 50% has already been unlocked. But untracked tokens right here, which is that a bunch of airdrop tokens that I talked about. The reason why they're untracked is because they're in a private wallet, and we're waiting to see what happens here, right? How are they going to be distributed? In which contract, or what's happening? And the treasury is in the same boat. It's in a private wallet, so they're untracked. So this is where things get a little funky, right? It is what it is, guys. Let's continue going on, and I just want to show you, like, even from a wallet distribution, the 40.7% is within this wallet. Fair enough, it's the Aster liquidity that they have. We saw the tokenomics. We saw that there's tokens that still need to be released. A good portion of them, because if you go to the tokenomics, if you look at their metrics or their tokenomics right here, you can see that their circulating supply is only 2 billion, while the total supply or the max supply is 8. So you got a bit of tokens that still need to be issued. And of course, where are they going to be held? Well, they're going to be held on chain. They're going to be held right into these wallets, right? And if you and it would be nice to have some of this transparency as to what wallet is what. Right. Sometimes you get the logos, sometimes projects put all these wallet addresses right on their documentation. So they have a lot of transparency as to who they belong to. But you can see 40, 20, 9. So if you use even the top 5 wallets, guys, your tokenomics are pretty bad without a DAO. Tokenomics are pretty bad without governance, right? Because again, where these tokens, might have a very good vesting schedule and all that good stuff, but as they get unlocked, who's calling the shots on all of this? I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm being too speculative here, or maybe being too critical. Let me know in the chat what you think. What is your, and again, guys, a lot of new projects have poor tokenomics like this. It's not exclusive to Aster. Okay, so let's move on from there for a bit, and let's see some of their socials. You can see that they got some good engagement here. They have 278,000 followers. And if you scroll down, they get good engagement on their posts, guys. Like, surprisingly, so like for an exchange, quite a bit, guys. If you look at what the 500, 900, I do these deep dives every single week, and really for the amount of followers that they have versus the amount of likes and engagement that they get, guys, this is a lot. This is pretty good and consistent. Um, Overall. So their marketing efforts are definitely there. Now they have a Telegram and they have a Discord, which is great. Both active and doing their thing. Quite rare for a DEX per se. Usually they try to keep it very institutional feel, so they don't get into the degeneracy or in the trenches on Telegram and things like that. But it's nice to see. It's nice to see that their grassroots marketing is definitely there. So I'm happy to see that they got lots of engagement here, guys. This is great. The next gen perp decks for all traders and lots of good stuff. Given the strong community interest in ongoing buyback and further enhancing transparency, community trust, Aster has decided to make the buyback address public ahead of schedule. So here you go. So this is what I was talking about, October 30th. So within me actually completing the deep dive and recording the video, they came up with this. It's like they knew that I was going to talk about. So some of what I've said might be slightly outdated within, a couple of 24 hours or so, but it is what it is. So transparency is key, and they gave the address. So now what you can do is, find this address right on here and say, okay, that's that wallet, and that's what that belongs to. Wouldn't it be nice to have a ton? This right here, Aster Treasury, is that the one that I just read? Possibly. Ensure transfer community voters, strong community interest, further community trust to make the buyback address. So no, I don't think that's it. But maybe they have it here, buyback address. I don't see anything. But it is what it is, guys, right? Oh, right here, Aster buyback. Okay, 1.2%. So we know that that's the buyback. Okay, but what about this and this and this and this and this? I know what this is a hot wallet for Binance. They want liquidity, obviously. So it is what it is, guys. If you want to track their wallets and know exactly what each wallet is, do your forensics, do your thing, ask questions, get on their Discord and their Telegrams and do their thing. But the truth is that without proper governance, we don't know where all these tokens are going to end up being anyway. Okay, so it is what it is. It's pretty good. Who's fueling up the next rocket launch? So their perp decks are here. Math Wallet, 100 perps are here. Trade crypto and tokenized stocks. Wow, powered by Aster, right on Math Wallets. It's a decent wallet. It's a hot wallet. So we got some good relationships happening in the last little while, guys. So Aster is definitely a project to watch out for. Because even within the last 24 hours, 48 hours since I've been doing research and creating all the graphics and doing all preparing for this deep dive, they're still cooking, guys. They're still cooking and doing their thing. So some good stuff. I'm glad that I was able to see this live here with you guys. One thing about the blogs and blogs in general throughout the space, I've seen a lot of my fair share of blogs that are not up to date, and Aster's kind of one of them. Their last post was September 8th, guys. We're in November. I think that it would be fair to say, keeping up with the blog would be ideal. And even if it meant, um deciding on, if you're not going to upkeep it, don't do it because it looks bad. I think that's a valid strategy, because seeing an unmanned blog is kind of like, it looks like you gave up on it and it's not a good look. So we'll give them a follow and see what they do in the next little while. And then we'll talk about the team really quick, because really there's nothing much to say other than Leonard is the CEO. All we have from him is a video, some AMAs, some interviews, very rare, like not very often. But again, I'm not the one who's following Leonard on a daily basis. I'm sure there's some big fans out there that believe in Aster and are following Aster. They know him much more than I do. But the reality is that he's anonymous. Okay, so I'm gonna take it at face value. Again, this deep dive is from a retail perspective. Someone that doesn't know anything about Aster, that is jumping in and right now saying, "Should I buy Aster?" So right now, the only thing that I know about Aster is that we have this dude right here, that's part of the Aster team, previously known as Atheris, if that's how the way you say it. I have no idea. And then all of a sudden, he has no LinkedIn, he has no last name, he has a profile picture that could, you know, if that's fine, and then an X account. So let's quickly go on their LinkedIn, which is the Aster LinkedIn, and you'll notice that you have 9 associate members. You have one individual that seems to be higher up the chain on the Aster team, but the rest are like support agents, marketing and onboarding and business development managers. Great people, of course, part of the team, vital participants on success of the project of the team, no doubt. But where's this founder? Where's the CEO? Where's everything? Like the core devs and all of that. They're anonymous, guys. They're anonymous. So kind of a little bit unfortunate for me. Um, and then this is the only thing that we really have of Leonard, other than a profile image and some talks that he has online, which is fine. But really, we don't know much. We don't know much. He's anonymous, so it is what it is. As you can see, he does post different things. This might be an interview with him coming up right into here. This is him right here, apparently, because again, he's anonymous. We don't know too much about what he's about. He could this could be a paid actor for all we know, just to show you, just to prove my point, right? So this is the problem with not having a fully doxed CEO, and I understand the reason why a lot of CEOs don't want to be doxed, guys. I understand privacy is king. We know that privacy is very, very important. And see Aster right now being traded on Robinhood, that's bullish. So this is the thing, I even like that and retweeted that. That's really good. But ultimately, guys, we understand that being anonymous is very, very important online. Trust me, more than me, there's nobody that really respects that. But when you're running a let's call it a publicly traded company, because at this point, this is what we're talking about, cryptos that are publicly traded. Sometimes knowing the team, knowing the founder, CEOs, and top tier management is key. All right, guys. So that's that. And there was a little bit of a report on this on Yahoo. Behind the Aster rise is its mysterious CEO, known simply as Leonard. It is what it is, guys. And Yahoo Finance being a big distribution outlet for financials. I found it interesting to see mainstream media, financial media, covering crypto projects, especially DEXs. Aster CEO Leonard operates entirely behind a veil of anonymity. The project has seen its token skyrocket shortly after launch. So it is what it is, guys. He does provide transparency, as mentioned there, as best as he can, but true transparency at the end of the day. But also, guys, we saw fully doxed teams rug. So that's a very important thing. We saw fully doxed teams of the past completely rug. Just because they're anonymous or he's anonymous doesn't mean that it's a rug or something. It's just a fact. So you got to take it as it is. Digest it the way you feel, but at least you know that this is what we got. And known only as Leonard is degree anonymous is not unusual. It's true. It's valid. This is a very, guys, check out this post here, this article. I think it does bring some light how we should be critical, but at the same time understand that this is the way this space works. All right, guys. As you guys know, I do provide infographics about the deep dives, and here we are. We're talking about Aster. Let's get into some of the details to just kind of wrap up this whole idea of what Aster is. It's ecosystem. It's a trading platform, plain and simple. The Aster Dex. But on top of that, it has key features: 1001x perpetual trading. A different style of perp trading with different mechanics with regards to liquidity pools and stuff as such. USDDF, a stable coin in basically a stable coin that is part of their internal ecosystem. Rocket Launch, which is the launch pad. Aster Earn, deposit and earn, but through staking or providing collateral. This is the way you're integrating the DeFi tools into the perp decks as well. So I give it 9 out of 10, no doubt, because their ecosystem is lacking, again, the overall governance part of its ecosystem, given that this is a value proposition that was promised. Okay, and this is we'll talk about this a little bit more. The utility, again, I'm going to have to just kind of uh, put that out there. The utility is a token utility for a DEX. We know this. Staking incentives, yield generating mechanisms enable participation in campaigns like Rocket Launch. But the biggest criticism here is that where is the token utility with regards to the governance? And this is why I have no choice but to be rough on this topic, is because this is something that was said that would be part of its core utility. And this is where a lot of people are getting impatient, waiting for this to happen, if it's going to happen, particularly that their tokenomics are not very decentralized. Let's put it that way, because of the lack of governance as well. So the roadmap, there's no roadmap moving on to last quarter. Last quarter was the last quarter that they covered. So beyond, we don't know where they're going. Historical milestones have been achieved, so bonus thumbs up on that. Mention of L1, but no timeline whatsoever. Not even a rough estimate to say, okay, next year or in 2 years, nothing. So the truth is that being left out in the dark in that direction, and then on top of it, expecting people to be bullish enough to buy the token, kind of keeps kind of it's a bit contradictory. And then the team being lightly doxed, I'm going to put that out there. They're lightly doxed. So we got some of the team members, few of them, 9 of them, no core team members. CEO is anonymous, but is out there a little bit. But again, we don't know much about it, the individual. It is what it is. So you can see how these, when you blanket, all of these together and you start looking at it, it kind of bothersome. And then from a social perspective, oops, sorry guys, I apologize. From a social perspective, we got the 277,000 X followers with strong engagement for that amount of followers. Telegram and Discord is active. I appreciate that. Very clean, and it seems to be a very hospitable place, particularly their Discord. So I like that. Blog is not up to date, and LinkedIn lacks detail, which means that they're keeping very anonymous. Even their higher level, team members are not even doxxed, which again, that's their choice, guys. Obviously privacy is key. It's once you give up your privacy, you can't get it back. But at the same time, it would be nice to know who we're investing in if there's no governance. It's all about governance right now, because the tokens crazy. 83% are go towards ecosystem and community, but there's no real, you know, clarity as to what's the mechanism behind all those tokens being issued. Who's calling the shots on them? 7% of the treasury, no governance yet. Centralized treasuries, centralized bodies or pools of liquidity that have no, a few point systems there over time, which I appreciate. But again, guys, I'm not going to keep on repeating. I think I repeated that too much. Relationships, great relationships, guys. And maybe this is a thing here. It's, in CZ we trust, in a way, like, YZI Labs, formerly Binance Labs. Is this one of those scenarios where, well, we don't need transparency with the team. We don't need a proper, governance. We trust our leader. And if that's what you appreciate, then so be it, guys. It is what it is. If there's anybody out there that could have, some push, maybe a bit of pull, open some doors, and this and that, and be able to grease the gears, it's gonna be the Binance, core teams members, including founders and CEOs and all of that. It is what it is, guys. And if that's something that you appreciate, I give it 10 out of 10. There's no other better relationships you can actually get right now in this space. You have trust wallet integration possibly happening, and that's a thesis. That was my foil hat thesis for many years, that eventually we're going to see standalone applications integrate their own DeFi protocols, and to the point that we won't even need a website. It's going to be an application, an app that we can distribute, and it will be done even if you side load it on into various operating systems, decentralize everything to the point that DeFi is unstoppable. And here, this is what we're seeing, and it is what it is. So relationship wise, they got Pyth, Chainlink, Binance, Oracles, and so on. To see Pyth again up there is quite interesting to see. It's not a Pyth deep dive, but again, I'm just pointing that out, that I've seen Pyth on a lot of different projects within this last couple of years. It is what it is. Exchanges, the only one is no Coinbase, but it's everywhere else, including BitNex. Guys, if you want to be trading on BitNex, check out the links in the description below. Right now, BitNex is offering some great trading bonuses, just to kind of give you that segue and into BitNex. Great exchange. So if we're looking at some of their tokenomics, in the last little while, I did my best to try to keep them up to date as I was making this graphic, as you can see. So it might be off by a few cents or so, but guys, overall, it is what it is. We got 25% of the supply in circulation at the current moment. Okay. Market cap, it is still a slightly large market cap for a new project, and with such tokenomics and token releases, guys, there's no doubt in my mind that this project in a bear market is going to dump really hard. There's no doubt in my mind. And I'm saying this not because of it's Aster or anything. All projects are going to be like that, because when you come out hot, and you have your tokens, right, being released throughout a bull run, and where the market is holding up somewhat decently, let's use that word lightly, decently. At the end of the day, guys, when we actually get into a real downtrend and the market's coming down hard, guys, there's people in profit and there's people going to be selling. And eventually, this is the biggest risk that we have here for new projects that are coming out this cycle. It happens every single cycle, okay, where altcoins dip very hard, 80-90%. So just be aware, if you're one of those individuals, those rare individuals that are in profit right now, just understand that you should have a bit of a strategy on how to protect those gains for the next little bit. Okay, so let's kind of scooch this over a little bit and do my little summary here that I got going on for you guys. I released this on socials, guys, so you can use that as a cheat sheet going forward, about what Aster is and so on. Just a reminder. DeFi, it's a perp dex, and it's a part of the Binance narrative. Lots of criticism about token holders not being able to participate in governance. That's one of the biggest things. Promises broad utility, but some features are still being rolled out. Guys, that's okay. We got to understand it's new. They're slowly rolling it out. That's fine, but these are some of the criticisms that I came across in the last little while. Token utility must be kept up with the large token release schedule. Of course, guys, the more the coin has utility, the more the tokens will be absorbed as they get released into the market. This is a very important mechanism that a lot of people need to understand. Token releases are not a problem as long as the project can maintain a healthy level of demand that will absorb the supply. And the only thing that is going to dictate that demand is token utility. And token utility is highly dependent on ecosystem and its growth. So we see a clear chain of events. And again, after doing over 130 deep dives in the last couple of years, I've noticed a direct correlation between these factors. So it's not enough just to have a token. You need to have utility. You need to have ecosystem. And I like the fact that the team is only allocating 5%. Again, 5% is great because they have a lot of faith that their ecosystem and utility is going to grow, and the value of that 5% is going to be enough for them to be very, very compensated. So, what does that tell you guys? Confidence? Maybe. Okay, so hybrid model, guys, we'll spend a second here. Hybrid model utilizes on chain settlement. Okay, this is important because this is where they differentiate from the competitors right now, with liquidity pooled in ALP. Okay, vaults for execution, not traditional order book. So a traditional order book makes orders transparent, where individuals can see the different orders on on the exchange. On a DEX, the order book can be so transparent to the point that you know which order belongs to which person. That becomes problematic because those orders can be hunted and manipulated and used to create strategy and so on and so forth. But in this case, they provide a liquidity pool that is not a typical order book, where at the end of the day, the orders that the intent of the order is not being basically transmitted across the space where everybody can see it, right? And then being used that way to manipulate. So it's hidden. And there's a level of anonymous transactions happening here. But as soon as the transactions get executed and settled, it is actually settled on chain, so you can actually see the settlement. So the spoofing capabilities are not really there. Aster that currently settles trades on public blockchains, BNB Chain, Arbitrum, meaning all transactions are visible on chain except the orders that are intended to be filled, whether it be selling or buying. As long as they're not filled yet, they're not public. That's the difference. Regulatory pressures on DeFi derivatives. This is something that I am still curious on. And I know a lot of people are worried because there's no real frameworks there yet. Are we going to eventually get some pressure there? As of now, guys, as of the last year, we've seen the perp dex narrative flourish to something that might be unstoppable in the sense that it's going to be very hard to regulate, right? So it's either they join, the regulators understand that they might as well join them instead of trying to, take them down, maybe join them or find a way to coexist. And the fact that we're getting a lot of clarity and a lot of, let's say, support from an administration perspective, that's a healthy thing. Okay, so Aster with the market cap of Hyperliquid. Let's talk about this for a second. We're talking about Hyperliquid because it is the perpdex, the OG, the first mover into this whole narrative. And again, guys, this is just a projection. I am not an oracle. I don't know the future. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not saying that it's going to get there. Projections come in different ways. And the way I project this is based on competition and total market cap. Aster's main competitor right now is Hyperliquid. If Aster can catch up to Hyperliquid, it will catch up by making a 6.5x move, okay, which means that it will do very well. However, this is under the presumption that Hyperliquid, obviously, and Aster are competing for capital that is inflowing from other places in the sense that the total market cap is rising. We need the total market cap to keep on rising so that Aster and other projects also can compete for fresh new capital coming into the space. Unless Aster is going to try to take some of Hyperliquid's market cap, which will cause the Hyperliquid market cap to dip and come down and Aster's to rise. This is not what I'm referring to. What I'm referring to is fresh capital. Okay, so it's very important here, guys. A lot of people think, ask me, Mike, but you actually think that it's going to reach $7? Well, the logic has to be set in place. The framework has to be set in place where the total market cap reaches maybe 6 trillion, 5 trillion, 7 trillion, 10 trillion. I don't know how many trillions, but I'll tell you this: as the trillions come in, Aster and Hyperliquid will be battling it out as to how much capital they will be able to extract from that fresh injection of capital. Mind you, if Aster moves up, so will Hyperliquid. But at this current state, to see Aster do a 6.5x and a proper healthy alt season where we see a $6 to $10 trillion market cap, guys, there's no doubt in my mind that Aster will do that. Okay, but then again, from a tokenomics overall perspective, Aster has a little bit of work to do. And for me to feel comfortable in what Aster is doing, they need to have a little bit more transparency, and they need to work on their back end with regards to their governance and their overall organizational structure. Kind of bothers me, to be honest, that easy points can be scored here, but they choose not to. And it's very unfortunate, but it is what it is. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about price action as well. So let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with the Aster chart, because ultimately Aster in the last, I would say, 12 hours has been doing pretty good. A nice pump to the upside for Aster, as you can see. But if you kind of take into the consideration the entire, let's go on the daily time frame, the big picture since the last run up, Aster has been dipping down significantly. Now, guys, I'm going to be very honest with you. This pump right now, as you see it, number one, is low volume, bothersome to me, which means that it's going to be very unlikely to see a sustainable pump. Okay, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know, but without volume like we had here, even volume pumps get exhausted eventually, and then we see a dip in volume. Where is the volume here to get a nice sustainable move to the upside? It's difficult. So what I would say is this: we are in a transitionary phase here on Aster, even on the short term. Let's go back to the 6 hour here for a second, and you'll see what I've been looking at. I've been looking at this structure. I questioned, are we going to form structure? We did kind of, but not really a good one. We came up, rounded off for another distribution, came down for a lower low, not actionable. This point of interest did not eventually result into something great. If it would have held above this white line and made a nice structure, put it in, get a stop loss reversal. Nothing happened there. Do not touch. Straight down. Next point of interest. Down here, what happened? We got a bit of a reaction. Went up. We questioned dead cat bounce. Yes, sir. Broke the low. Dead cat bounce. Not actionable. Now where we are right now. Next point of interest. What's the point of interest here? Really nothing much, to be honest. A bit of liquidity here that is mostly based on this market structure right here. The only thing that we can say is we've been making lower lows and lower highs, but what happened right here might be the proof of life, right? Usually what I use is I look for volume backed moves. Not that much volume. So let's kind of look. It is okay. It's beginning. This is only the 6 hour candle. We still, and it is a Sunday, so we got to be real. Monday, this thing could be cranking. You know, we can have a lightsaber all the way back up. What do we know? But this is likely to be the beginning of a potential reversal. So let's take a look at oscillators. By the way, guys, if you want to know more about Synergy Signal, which is the oscillator of choice here on BTD Crypto, check out the links in the description below. Definitely helpful stuff here. As you can see, the momentum definitely started pumping. The volatility line is staying overbought waiting. The expansions in the background you can see are hanging out there, looking bullish once again here on the 6 hour. I am waiting after 1, 2, 3, 4 bearish attempts without any bullish, even more, guys. Where's the bullish attempt since all of this? The last one we have was right into here. Where is the bullish attempt? We might be gearing up for that bullish attempt. Now, if you start looking at these 1, 2, 3 bottoms, and you look at the bottoms on the momentum, it's not really diverging too much. In fact, this is pretty sideways, right? Very, very sideways. This actually made a slightly lower low. It is what it is. I feel that, it would be nice to see signs of divergence. This would be considered a Class C bullish divergence anyhow. So when you have a triple bottom or bottoms on momentum or any oscillator for that matter, and your price keeps on falling, that would be a Class C bullish divergence. Is one of the weaker type of divergences out there. Just keep that in mind. So if that's the case, now we're getting this low. Is this a higher low? Not really. Still lower low. Is this a low? Maybe. Is this a higher high above here? Are we actually breaking them? We're working on it, right? Let me zoom in a little bit more. It's being worked on right now to actually break out of this top. Is it likely to break out in one go? And to be honest, I wouldn't want that. As a trader, that's not something that I would be interested in. This is the range that we actually got to break out, no doubt. But I would much rather prefer an exchange of hands right here, sideways price action. Let's do that. And then we can put a stop loss underneath here and then get yourself out of here with conviction. Shake out all the short-term traders that are taking profit at resistance. Let the buyers buy based on their bullish convictions that this is going to be a reversal, change of character, market structure shift. EMAs are facing up. Green histogram bars. We're not in the bullish control zone yet. So we're early here, guys. And we're on a Sunday. Little volume. It's not that much, but there is some there, just a little bit, guys. But, we like to see these little, signs of hopium. Nice green histogram bar right here. Nice sign of hopium, but big picture, guys. Big picture. Again, let's get rid of oscillators. Oscillators are looking okay. They're great, but the market structure right now is what we need to focus on. We've been on a downtrend for a good while here. Is this, as I'm, painting this picture for you guys, you could probably see like this could turn into a reversal. Why not? Even a retracement down to a discount zone coming to about 98 cents right into this level is still very valid. Hold, bounce. But without a structure or a proper retracement that hits a level where I can find a structure, I'm just gambling right now for a potential breakout. And that's a problem. I know shorts would be interesting because you put a stop loss up here, get into a short position, and trade it to the downside. Guys, in fact, a short would be a better risk to reward ratio opportunity. But based on the market, guys, on what could happen here, based on the negativity and the amount of bearishness here, guys, max pain could be achieved by seeing a massive market run in the next little while. Right now, Aster is up 23.8%, while the rest of the market is fairly red. Right now, Aster is getting its moment. Okay, so despite what I said, fundamentally, we know that there are some great things happening in this space with regards to DeFi. You can see the price is doing great as of today. We want to see a better complex structure of a reversal here to actually break out positively, right? If we do not and we get rejected and we come down lower than this low, guys, right around 77 cents, this becomes a bear flag, a bigger exchange of hands after an impulsive move to the downside, and it's likely that we come down further once we break structure, a BOS, a break of structure to the downside by breaking below exactly 83 cents. If we break below 83 cents, it's cooked, guys. It's coming down, and that's a problem. So we have to see a pullback, ideally, so we can get a better entry, because right now it's a bit of a gamble. Or if you're going to gamble, guys, right now on a breakout, make sure that you use proper risk management and control your risk via position size. I just want to be real. The stop loss area is all the way down here, and it's a 34% dip from where we are right now. That's a huge dip, if not more, 37. That's a huge dip, guys. Okay, so your position size has to be small enough for you to be able to justify a 30% dip. Ultimately, if you get into a $100 position, you're going to potentially lose 30% of it, $30. Put it into context, guys. Understand your risk management. Be careful out there, guys, because we're going to get a bit of volatility. It's going to begin soon. Tomorrow's Monday. Market open might be really interesting to see, given that we've gotten a bit of red and we're starting a new monthly candle. November is here, and let's see if it rocks our portfolio in the next little while. Guys, if I've offered you any value here, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join that Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.